Ladies and gents, there's some more information that came out of the previews that were released yesterday. So what I've done again is I compiled the things that are the most interesting to me. If you want to read the more smaller things and all that stuff, there's a link in the description to a big GTA forums post. The guys over there has done a tremendous job with translating everything, so I don't want to take credit for that. Yesterday's video was obviously based on that too. With all that out of the way, let's dive into the previews from yesterday and also the interview with IGN that was uploaded today on the IGN website. Point of view has been closer. The camera will change depending on what you're doing, such as hunting, shooting, etc. No words if the camera can be changed manually. Camps will be supplied with food, money, etc. More supply there is, more of Dutch's men will be happy. If you don't provide what is asked, it will be the opposite. This will not directly impact the storyline, but you will be rewarded if you do so. If you lose your hand on the shooting, you will be able to grab it back, or you will need to buy a new one. It will not respawn later. So for example, if you're going down Blackwater, you're having a shootout, you lose your hat and you just run away, you're gonna have to go back all the way to Blackwater to pick up your hat where you lost it. You can go on houses, open drawers, take jewels, jump onto a moving train, rob a bank, etc. So that's, basically showing us that there's gonna be a lot of interaction within the world. Hair and facial hair grows over time. You will need to cut them if you want. You can choose to cut only the chin, mustache, etc. But if you do so, you will have to wait until they grow back to do another cut. New people will join the gang as the story progresses. Players cannot recruit new members freely in the game world because that would not lead to bonding fellow gang members, which they do want to encourage. Rockstar is focusing a lot on realism. Hopefully they do find the right balance with that, because going too realistic would probably, take away the fun factor a little bit. The game's base is a traveling thing that moves between various territories of the West, and in which Arthur will meet his fellow adventurers. Here they will plan train robberies, city bank heists, or hunting trips to replenish camp food supplies. The game world is very detailed. Early in the demo, a flock of sheep complete with dog and shepherd crossed the road that Arthur was on. Animals will hunt and scavenge, for instance. Vultures will scavenge prey left out in the open. There's a limit to what the horse can carry. It doesn't have magical endless pockets, which I guess makes sense. When it comes to weapons, weapons can be selected via the weapon wheel, so that's returning from the previous games as well. Weapons can also be upgraded, which is interesting. I wonder what they're gonna do with that, because I don't necessarily think that back then they had like a red dot sight or whatever for your weapon, so it'd be interesting to see what they're gonna do with that. Gunplay feels more mature and forceful in comparison to previous Rockstar titles, so I guess you're gonna feel a lot more like you're actually shooting a gun rather than just, a piece of plastic, which in some regards GTA 5's guns kind of feel like, like you're shooting a gun, but unless you're shooting something like the heavy revolver or like the double action revolver, it doesn't feel like, that true, boom, I'm shooting something powerful. There will be kill cams highlighting great kills in slow motion, so I guess they're kind of taking a lot of inspiration from like Max Payne 3, if you remember that. The aiming system seems to be similar to GTA's, although Rockstar has confirmed new control mechanics, so I'm hoping that they're gonna, build upon what they've done with GTA 5, especially the PC version is a lot smoother because it's 60 FPS obviously, but when it comes to free aim in GTA Online, I feel like that it's a bit clunky, so hopefully they're gonna do their best to try and smoothen everything out. And here's some mission design quotes for you. We have done a great deal of work on this aspect, our goal being to limit the differences between the missions of the main campaign and other quests. It is important that these are seen as both fun and varied activities, while remaining consistent from Arthur's point of view. Everything must appear natural, without any transition or lag, to reinforce the sense of immersion and connection between each mission. For example, in the camp, a simple conversation with an NPC can result in a bank robbery, or reveal important details about story, background, and thus trigger a new mission that the player may want to do. We wanted to do more, to feel other ideas, to purpose something really new, so we wrote the entire sections of our engine from scratch, working more consistently on an aspect that for too long has been stuck on standards a bit outdated: artificial intelligence, which is obviously referring to AI. So what this means is that they're also completely reworking how the AI works. If you remember a game called Killzone 2, it has this really interesting thing where every time you would die and restart a certain section, the AI would take a completely different path and it would always be different every time you would do the section again. Hopefully Rockstar is going to do at least something similar to that. I know it's going to be a nightmare for people like us that like to hunt trophies, but from a gameplay perspective, it's going to make the game a lot more interesting and not seem like you're constantly doing the same thing. Touching a little bit on the dynamic score, the music notes seem to change by taking into account the impressive number of factors. Alternating notes at sunset with the almost painful chords as we pass through the village destroyed by flames. There's another preview that was uploaded from a Japanese website. As of now, I personally don't know any Japanese, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave that. The GTA forums guy are gonna update that stuff when it becomes available, obviously from someone who does speak Japanese. So just check the link in the description if you want to see a summary of all that info. I personally feel that it's not really worth doing an entire new video on what is more than likely going to be a few minor details as well. Right, and now moving on to the interview of IGN, which had a few interesting things in there as well. Work on Red Dead Redemption 2 began 8 years ago, so this game has been in development for over 8 years now. Almost a decade. I think they're going to be really happy when they're done. The objective is to create a world that feels like it exists independently of the player. The design principle of the game is that the real world runs on a schedule. Your gang has jobs assigned to each member. Everyone has a routine day to go through every day. A cook prepares food for the gang members, calls them to go eat, they go over, get food, sit down and eat it. There is a food chain, they say. The end game is to create a world inhabited by characters who exist independently of you. People who have conversations among themselves that will branch depending on your involvement. Red Dead Redemption 2 evolves the concept of GTA 5's basic pedestrian conversation by reapproaching the lock-on system, which can now be used to interact with other characters in ways much more complex than just shooting them. When you lock on each of the buttons on the controller will offer contextual behaviors. You will be able to greet, antagonize or rob a stranger without drawing your weapon, but these actions can change if you choose to be violent. Rockstar wants the player to feel the responsibility of Arthur's position within the gang. He must provide for them, but at the same time Rockstar doesn't want to make it feel laborious, striking a balance between realism and fantasy, which obviously is very important because we don't exactly want to turn it into like The Sims 4 where we constantly have to gonna feed our baby. Small kills like rabbits are preserved in your satchel because from a design standpoint it became too annoying having small kills get rotten. Your horse can die, it can become seriously injured and you may have to heal it with the right tools. If you fail to give it the medicine in time, it will die. Now summoning a horse suddenly, and I quote, "Things have to cost something to mean something." End quote. Missions have a lot more choices than them. In the demo bank robbery you can choose to do it quietly or not, and that will have a different outcome when you go out of the bank. Not only that, but law may or may not be there when you go out or may show up later. There's plenty of options whenever you go, which kind of tells me that there is going to be a strong incentive to replay the story a few times to get all the different outcomes, which I personally don't mind. I mean, you spend 60 bucks on the game and the majority of people are more than likely going to get the game for the single player, so you might as well get a lot more out of it than you would normally do. You may choose to take care of your gang constantly or go away for a while, but this will bring consequences. So again, the emphasis is very much on you need to find the right balance between going out on missions and all that stuff and doing your own thing versus trying to keep your gang healthy, which is obviously going to bring you a lot more rewards. And then last but not least, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a worldwide effort. It will be a Rockstar Games production and not just San Diego or Rockstar North. Previously, what they said, they had like 50 people or whatever working on the game, but now as the game has obviously got bigger and bigger, they just decided to involve every single studio to make it what it is going to become. And just as I was about to press render on the video, Rockstar has posted that we should stay tuned for more Red Dead Redemption 2 info coming next month. including the first details about the game's special editions and more. Something I'm personally very curious about to see what they're gonna do with a collector's edition, because the GTA 5 collector's edition was quite cool indeed. And I guess that is it for all the information this week regarding Red Dead Redemption 2. I have to say personally that there's a lot to digest, so tomorrow I think I'm just gonna do one big opinion piece about all the information that we have gotten, because I feel like in these informational videos I kinda just try to tone down my personal opinion. So if you're interested in that, make sure to turn on notifications. Thank you so very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more Red Dead Redemption 2 coverage coming to you very soon, and I'll see you all later.
And the burning blisters on my feet will call to hold me as I'm close to fall.